Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, a podcast we explore the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John, today we're talking about a thing that neither of us recalled existing.
Yeah.
After watching the first half, I realized we probably did watch it, and now I understand why we don't remember it existed.
Yes, based on what this is and when it came out, I don't see any scenario I didn't watch this. I can't possibly imagine this aired on television without my viewing it. It's 100% aimed right at me.
In both of our lives of being media sponges, and we've watched our fair share of everything, TV, film, and so forth, there are things that we... And not just for this podcast, we have encountered things that were TV movies, and we said, wow, this is actual cinema. This is actually good. Someone aspired, and they took budget into consideration, but they still did something interesting.
Night Stalker, Salem's Lot are the two that come to mind. Those are both
that we've actually covered.
I rewatched those, and they're great.
Surprisingly good for where they aired.
Yeah.
And I'm not a snob about TV. TV's great. Well done TV.
Absolutely.
I will take that over a trip to the cinema often.
I mean, we particularly live in a world now where you can almost argue that on the whole, TV is frequently better than cinema these days.
Yes, definitely in this era, that is the case.
Yeah.
But then you see things where you go, oh yeah, TV movie. They set out with TV movie goals.
Yeah.
They set out with TV movie ambition.
Yeah.
And what they ended up with was a TV movie. And you just go, yeah, that was honestly forgettable nonsense. That isn't terrible, but it's like empty calories.
Yeah.
This is empty calories.
We have the exact same opinion on this then. House of Frankenstein from 1997. Talking about part one this week. That's right. We get to devote 2 episodes to this because there's just so much here, right?
But, all together 3 hours because they're both about an hour and a half.
Yeah, they aired on back-to-back nights in 97.
I'll give it this before we get into it. This is more a broad stroke.
Yeah.
For something that is spread across 3 hours, I will say this thing, it didn't feel padded, like all the little storylines. It moves well enough.
I agree.
And I was sitting there going like, oh, unlike, for instance, when we did the Phantom of the Opera TV movie, we split that with Charles Dance, and it was speaking of Terry Polo.
Terry Polo, and also NBC. Same network, same lead actress.
That felt so padded out,
really
and
did.
It was boring. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Well, this one, one of the smart things here is, I guess one of the things, not even smart things, one of the things that creates that is, we have 3 monster stories going on here, so we can always... It does a thing I always like to do in stuff I write, where it's like, if I have enough stuff going on, I can goose pacing by just cutting over here, and then cutting back to that. Because it's just like, oh, if this is going a little long, let's check in with the Frankenstein monster or whatever.
The Frankenstein monster's plot line for at least part 1
is a little extraneous.
The one where you're like going, nothing happens there, but at least every time we cut away, we're like, oh, now we're with the Frankenstein monster. Okay.
And it's all, they're all pretty short scenes, and you know it's laying groundwork. That is my exact reaction to this, though. This is not terrible, but it is so TV. It is, if TV was a qualifier, that's what this is. It's like, oh, yeah, that's made for television.
The thing, I mean, obviously, because it is a Monster Mash movie, which we haven't had in a while, it makes you think of others. And I'm sitting there going, the great thing about Monster Squad, which we have done, Monster Squad is something that is aimed at kids, but it's just entertaining enough that obviously there was stuff there for adults too. It's still very entertaining and fun to watch.
Yes.
This is something that's actually aimed at adults, but it seems like they've dumbed everything down. And I keep going, this is not a good look when right now, the reason this TV movie probably exists is the success of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is on at the same time. Obviously X-Files has started. There's more of a switch to like, oh yeah, paranormal stuff.
That's big. Do you remember Dark Skies? That was NBC's attempt to do
Dark
X-Files.
Skies, and around the same time, though, I think it was a couple of years before, they relaunched Dark Shadows briefly.
Yep. Dark Shadow,
the
aforementioned Forever Night, which actually that's very much in the same vein as this, where you're trying to glom the police procedural onto the paranormal thing, which of course is what X-Files was.
That's pretty much anything, glom a police procedure. They do it with sci-fi. It's like, well, yeah, it's set in the future, but it's still just a cop show. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, like Tech War.
But also at the same time, because I had nearly forgotten about it till I was watching this, I was like, holy shit, I also watched Kindred, The Embraced, which was the brief one season based on the role-playing game Vampire the Masquerade TV show, which I actually kind of dug, but they buried it after one season.
I see they made 8 episodes in total of that.
Yeah.
And only aired 7 of those.
The human main character, C. Thomas Howell's character, was the least interesting, and
you're talking about the ball of energy that is C. Thomas Howell, who actually I have liked in plenty of things, but more as a character actor. I feel like,
oh man, are you talking about Mr. Soul Man?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He had his run in the, of course, in the 80s, but I feel like more modern C. Thomas Howell has actually done more interesting things in...
Well, no, actually, as an actor, he's fine. It's
just
that,
when they were building stuff around him, I think was a mistake.
Right, and also, I understood that people were confused. Like, I don't get it. It's like, guys, it's just a mob show, but with vampires.
Right.
The 5 families are different clans of vampires. Just deal with it.
I love that. Much like I love the idea of the Universal Monsters meets Law and Order, which is what this feels like. and on paper, I'm like, great. I love those two things. And once again, it's sort of like watching this, I'm going, this isn't awful, but it could be better, and it's just not.
Honestly, the concept, fine. Even the structure of it is fine.
Yeah.
And I just sit there going, but they really did dumb this down.
They did.
It's stupid.
And they made some weird decisions, which we'll talk about.
They did. We should get into it. Let's
get into that. Can we get into the promo poster first, though?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think it gets to some of my problems here, which is designs. So, yeah, let's look. This is the promo poster that... Once again, I had to watch this because I'm sure I saw this in a TV guide. This promo poster, and it would have been.
It's terrible.
It is awful, but it is awful in the same way this is awful. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bury the lead on this is how shitty this is gonna look. Because we've got our modern LA cityscape.
Yep.
Because welcome to LA.
This looks worse than a full moon poster. That's what's blowing my mind.
Well, it does. Full moon is bad in their own way, as we've talked about. This is more shoddily put together, though.
This is high school senior with Photoshop.
It is, and we've got our Frankenstein creature in the center here. He's the most presented just in his makeup in the movie, but they've added these chains he's breaking out of that look awful.
Because they're literally just painted on in Photoshop. He's doing a kind of classic Frankenstein monster pose of just arms out. You see his makeup, which is not great, but it's not awful.
It would be passable if not for the vampire design in this. Then it's like, okay, that the vampire design drags the whole makeup thing down.
Holy shit!
The vampire,
man.
and I don't know why. I don't know why they did.
I don't know why they committed to that so hard.
Because
if you see that for a scene, maybe you save it for the end when he does some transformation thing.
But it's just like,
why isn't he just a vampire guy with fangs? Anytime
that's cheap and it's effective. It's fine.
Man, when they do that shot of him flying away and they're trying to make it look like. Ooh,
because
that's badass.
The vampire in this, as you see here on this poster, where it's split between this guy and the vampire. The vampires in this are full on like bat creatures. He's a bat creature, gargoyle.
Well, in this case, whenever he is on the hunt,
Yeah.
He has shifted into this Batman.
He is literally a Batman. He's not Batman.
Yeah.
He's Batman. Sorry. Warner Brothers is like, okay, never mind. You're fine.
And here's the thing.
Nor is he a man-bat.
He could be a man-bat. Sorry, Kirk Langstrom. But the thing is that in this, when he's fighting and moving in the makeup, it's not that the makeup design is terrible. It's clearly someone that saw Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Bram Stoker's Dracula is when he takes that shape, it is effective for a couple of seconds of him like really monstering out, and that's great. But we don't spend a lot of time.
It's better makeup and it's better utilized.
Of course.
Yeah.
Here, they've done this full body thing with wings and the big ears, but when he is like attacking and he goes in, this I've seen in many a thing. When you do latex like headpieces, and they have big ears or horns, if they jiggle, you've lost all drama.
Yeah.
Even if this guy is moving like a monster, a beast, he's tearing a throat out. If his little bat ears are going, because they're made out of rubber,
it really does.
I can't take it.
No, agreed.
You need to make those out of hard plastic so they don't move a fucking inch.
But then that leads us to our werewolf, which is the total opposite design in that it's just a wolf.
This poster, they think they're being clever. So you got Frankenstein's monster who will never look different. So he's right in the middle.
He's going, "How you doing, everybody? Hey, welcome to my house."
He's doing kind of a almost a selfie pose in this, but he is bookended by the vampire, who's not Dracula, but the vampire.
Which is okay. We'll get to that. That's one of the weirder decisions in this thing to me.
I don't mind actually because it makes it Dracula has not been embarrassed by.
Well,
this.
I mean, okay, I agree, but it does seem like I can't believe it's not Dracula.
Sure, I can't believe it's not butter. But
yeah, and it's about the same quality as that.
Yeah, they've done the thing of, as John was pointing out, it's the actor on one side, and then they do that he's phased into the Batman look. So on the other side of the Frankenstein monster is beautiful Terry Polo. At least half of Terry Polo.
Yeah.
And the other half they phased with Photoshop into a wolf.
Well, because that's going to tell you this is a little bit different werewolf than we're used to. This one's a sexy lady.
This is, I told you before, and I sent you the link to it. I didn't expect you to listen to it, but that book and record set I had years ago that had the art by Neil Adams, sweet.
Yeah.
Neil Adams art that had Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the werewolf.
Honestly, it's art that's too good because it promises something the audio cannot deliver, basically.
Of course.
Because Neil Adams art is great, as always.
Yes. And I mean, but I'm also getting that when I'm 8 or something. So to me, that is still iconic in my brain, even though it has a blonde Dracula, and I have never gotten over that. But yeah, in that, it's the woman, it's the young woman who's been captured by Dracula. She becomes a werewolf, and that's a big surprise at the end of it. This doesn't want you to be surprised. It's telling you Terry Polo is going to be a werewolf.
Yeah, because we get, oh God, we'll talk about real sleazebag werewolf in this movie.
We will.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we get 2 taglines for the price of one here. I mean, we get the vampire, the monster, the werewolf up top.
That's literally what it says at the top.
And then an ancient curse, a modern day thriller, an NBC movie original.
Say no.
But the whole thing is just like, it's the classic monsters. But now, that's basically what they're kind of going.
They're walking around.
And I remember this was so much stuff I remember as a kid, being a 90s kid, was like, it's this thing for the 90s. Yeah. Like, I remember Lois and Clark was like, it's Superman for the 90s, like it was that kind of thing.
They are gonna make out.
It is sort of everything was like, this ain't your dad. It was now the thing is, this ain't your daddy's. It used to be not, this isn't something. It used to be, this is the thing for now.
This is the thing, but it's been moved up.
Right, yeah, it is sort of like, it's what you, but now, don't you want to see the 90s spin on this? And having seen this, no thanks, I'm good. Yeah. And I don't know what the thought with this was, because I couldn't find any info about this. Was this meant to kick off a show, maybe, potentially?
This
I have
feels
to imagine.
like that's what it was aimed at.
It's got to be Detective
it's
Adrian Pazdar Monster Detective, basically, is what we were going to get.
Yeah, and depending on how it ends in part
character,
2.
that's what I'm curious to get to, because I'm saying, like, oh, now you've got the CCH Pounder characters, the science, and Terry Polo's his werewolf girlfriend. You're going like, oh, I see the ensemble building for what will be the week to week. We got Miguel Sandoval slumming it. He's way better than this material.
Of course,
most of this cast is actually better than this material.
Yeah, the whole cast. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. The vampire guy's okay for what he's doing. I'm not familiar with him.
Oh,
the Frankenstein
we'll
monster
talk about
guy
him. He's interesting. Who that guy is, but I did look. But
I was more interested in Melinda McGraw, who doesn't have a big part in this. But I was like, oh my God, X-Files connection. Are you telling me? Wait, that's Scully's sister.
It's Scully's sister. She's Barbara Gordon.
That's Barbara Gordon
from the Nolan Batman
Dark
movies.
Knight.
Yeah. Is she in Batman Begins
anyway,
as well?
Yeah, it had plenty of little connections in there. Like
she's
that.
just in Dark Knight. Is that a different woman who plays Barbara Gordon in Batman Begins? You do see Barbara Gordon in Batman Begins.
Just that one little bit where he shows up outside Gordon's place, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I had just assumed it was the same actress, but...
Well, I like that they went with a redhead, because the younger Barbara, of course, will be a redhead. Yep. Anyway, I'm a nerd.
Oh, what? That's a big reveal. Have you been listening to this show? We've never. And also, you care about things like the color of people's hair. That's also never come up once.
Okay. Well, I just like characters to be on model, as they say.
I was gonna say, see the statement you made about a blonde Dracula 2 minutes ago.
Right. I'm embarrassed now, and I will hide my face. Anyway.
She's in here. I mean, everybody in this is like somebody. I mean, like, are people I've seen in other things at the very least. So
yeah, I was mostly embarrassed for like CCH Pounder. It's not a flattering character for her.
No, and
she can
so
bring it.
Good.
But
she's such a good actor.
And I will say, weirdly, I don't know if it's a direction they were given, but everyone in this who I have seen do real work as real solid actors.
Yeah,
it's almost as if they were told, go a little broad with this. This is going to be campy. I mean, this is very nearly campy. So everybody, including Pazdar and Terry Polo, they're all, and CCH Pounder, they're all kind of going, I'm telling you, there's a vampire out there. Oh, thanks, lady.
And I think
I didn't think I'd hear about a vampire today.
That's a problem I have with this, is it needed to pick a lane. It either needed to get real grounded and gritty, or it needed to go more campy. And I feel like it strikes a weird...
the middle lane, which is what I thought they should be trying to do, which is copy what Whedon did. Make it smart, make it self-aware, and
well, that's kind of what I'm talking about when leaning, embracing the camp more than this did. Is what I'm saying. Yeah. Or you go the X-Files route and you treat it as this is serious investigations into the paranormal.
Yeah.
And the answer is it kind of does. It kind of goes back and forth, but it never like merges the two tones. Instead, just like, how am I meant to feel about this? And I will say, some of the performances are more confused than others. And I don't blame anyone in this. I think everybody here, once again, I've seen do good work. So I do think a lot of it is. And who is responsible for this? Who? Let me see here. J.B. White.
Who's responsible?
J.B. Okay. He's a TV guy, J.B. White, who wrote this. Now, he's coming off of the year before, and I do remember watching this 2-part TV movie, The Beast, with William Peterson. Do you remember that? No. This was it's a Peter Benchley novel about a giant killer like squid.
Oh, no. No.
Gigantic squid. It's basically Jaws with a squid and William Peterson. But I do distinctly remember watching that, because this was a time
that would have been great if that had been their promo copy. Jaws with a squid and
William Peterson. Interesting that Georgia Fox then is in this, who they both go on to be on CSI and actually play each other's love interests on there. So
Georgia Fox, I mean,
I know nothing to do in this.
She became a bigger name. Yeah, she has nothing to do.
Absolutely nothing to do in this.
I was like, okay, well, good to see you. She starts kicking into the plot at the very end of part 1.
At the very end of this. But yeah, like I said,
part 2 could be all Georgia Fox.
She will go on to be on CSI, and like I said, actually be the love interest for William Peterson's character, which I always thought was kind of weird. I always thought that was kind of weird. But I will say, this guy continues to write TV movies, and boy, where is he now? Oh, it's Hallmark Christmas movies for days from this guy. This guy writes at least one a year of the Hallmark Christmas movies now.
There's money there.
There's plenty of money there.
Him.
And directed by Peter Werner. Big TV guy. Every procedural you've ever seen. And that's what I would say this looks like. This isn't poorly directed. It's competently directed, but it looks like Law and Order or whatever, which he directs. I
actually... because we've used the term often on the podcast, but this is sort of has baseline competence. It's sort of like I think we should rename the podcast to Baseline Competence.
Well, okay, I mean, look, this guy's a solid TV director, but I will say he was a director on Grimm. That's exactly what this looks like. This looks a lot like Grimm,
which is one of the reasons why I didn't get into Grimm.
But he also,
I was like, this feels TV.
I mean, The Blacklist, like I said, he's done the different Law and Orders, Blue Bloods. I will say he directed 9 episodes of Justified. That's a little bit better. You know, that's looking better. That's looking more cinematic.
Justified's great, but I bet they told him what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying, like, that's a little bit more cinematic, but if you look, it's mostly network procedurals. Limitless, the TV show. Anybody remember when they made Limitless into a TV show? Oh, that was a mistake. Ooh, here's one that
No, it's something we all wanted.
Let's take that Bradley Cooper sci-fi movie and make it a network procedural, where he now uses the limitless powers to solve crime. That's always, no matter what your power is on TV, you will go, I'm going to solve mysteries with this. And speaking of that, you want to talk about very TV? This guy directed some of No Ordinary Family, the network TV Fantastic
I watched
Four.
5 minutes of that.
Yeah, that was very much like
superheroes.
It did. I think I watched more than a couple episodes of it, even because I also love Chickless. I'm a big Chickless fan.
It was only one season, right?
Yeah, I only did one season. I don't think I watched the whole thing by any means, but I watched it for a little. Oh, Julie Benz was in it too, who I also love.
I love Julie Benz.
She's great. I mean, they were, I wanted to like it. I want stuff like that to do well. And once again, it's it's sort of the superhero equivalent of this, where you're going, this isn't horrible, but it's very network TV. It's just very generic, and that's fine. But especially as time has gone on, now I have no time for that. Like now it's got to go, because there's just too much great stuff. So unless I'm actively tuning in to something like a Law and Order, where I know exactly, I'm like, okay, I have put this on because I'm looking for a kind of not brainless, but like, white noise almost is how I treat
what I always want, and it's not asking for the world. It's literally because I'll take it if it's failed, but I always look for ambition.
Yeah.
And if you watch enough stuff, and also if you're a critical thinker and watch stuff, and not just someone who goes, colored picture, lights, people moving, noise.
I'm sorry. There's no reason to slag off the audience of CBS on this show. No.
I look for someone tried something, and if it fails, I go, wow, but at least they took a swing. This feels so factoried that I'm like, well, and low ambition, and I think all we gotta do is give him a vampire, a Frankenstein's monster, and a werewolf.
Well, because I do think that's something that one of the things I do tend to react more poorly to are things like this that are genre, because network is built to do things like Law and Order or CSI. That's what it's designed for. But when you start to go a little bit outside of that, and now you're like, okay, now when you're into genre, now I'm comparing you to the top stuff of that, and sort of going like, I know what you can't fool me on what a good monster thing is. You're this is less than, and it shows. And
this punched the clock. This is what this did.
And it's made by guys who punch the clock, and it shows. That's sort of the thing. Even though I am going like, man, the whole time I was watching this, and I think we definitely have talked about it before, but I'm going, why didn't Pazdar have a better career? He's a good actor.
I know. And actually, in this, even though they're forced into fast chemistry, which happens so often.
They're both good actors, though.
But I'm looking at him and Terry Polo going like, Jesus, that's a beautiful couple. If they had ever had a show that was just them, whatever the show was, all you'd sit there going is like, God damn, that's a beautiful couple.
I always thought Pazdar, I mean, not that it would be like 100%, but I always thought of Pazdar as like, there's a world where he's a Bruce Wayne or something like that. He's got that look.
And that guy can do charming. He can do vulnerable, and he can do badass.
Look, we're not here to, I mean, the guy works a ton. It's just, it's in things like he did play Morgan Edge on Supergirl.
We should say to our listeners, guys, don't put together like a GoFundMe page.
No,
he's doing okay.
He's working a lot.
Don't need to start sending him socks and cans of soup.
But like so many people I've liked, it is sort of that thing where you're going like, but he should be in bigger stuff. He should have. I mean, like I said, he played Morgan Edge on Supergirl. He played Glenn Talbot on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But it's like, why isn't he leading these shows though? Why is he like?
I know.
I mean, the closest we get is Heroes, where he was sort of a Batman-y, Superman-y kind of guy.
He's our it's the Pazdar conundrum.
It's some people fall through the cracks like that, and it's a weird thing.
I've seen it a lot, and it is amazing where you get reminded, like I was talking about Karen Allen, where after rewatching stuff, I'm just sitting there going like, I don't understand why she wasn't the Sandra Bullock of her day.
I think she is somebody who kind of turned down a lot of stuff because I think she was choosier, is what I've gathered about Karen Allen. We're sort of like, if I'm not in, I don't think she needed to be a star, is the sense I've always gotten from hearing about her, where she's like, if I'm not into it, I kind of don't want to do it then. And so the stuff she did was the stuff she wanted to do.
Oh, I don't think anyone that we're talking about needs to be embarrassed.
No.
Because one thing, they are known and beloved, and we're talking about them right now.
You know, look, Pazdar's in Top Gun. He's in Near Dark. I mean, these are classics of a certain sort. And like I said, the guy works all the time. He's been the voice of Tony Stark in like 1 billion animated things. So that's good for him, man. And I think he's perfectly once again, on paper, he's what I would want this leading man in this thing to be. I want to see Adrian Pazdar fighting monsters. Sure, man. I would have watched this each week.
Just not this.
It's just once again, it's all the material. You're like, I see the pieces here, but let's get into this. Right off the bat, I knew we were in trouble as soon as I saw the font and this weird night vision, multicolored bat vision.
Oh my God.
And I was like, uh-oh, I know this. Because it's just like, it's one of those things where I just go, I smell this. This is 90s TV movie. Yep, that's it. It's emanating. It's all over the place here. It reeks.
Yeah, it looks like the font, and then when you immediately cut to the brightly multicolored night vision flight through
which
whatever
always says to me, we are saving money, not showing a monster. That's always what that says to me when you cut to the POV monster vision.
But it looks literally like we're about to see a Fruit Gushers commercial from '97. It is that kind of neon coloring where you're like going, no one would touch that today.
And it's a thing that's like somebody flipped a switch. You know, I've worked enough in TV and video and stuff like that to know you just turn that on. It's not an effect that's put on a thing.
Remember when we watched that Louis Jourdan Dracula, and they're like, we can do these effects with video. It's like, you can, but should you?
Yeah, that is literally a toggle on a board. Like I've done
them doing that with like, we can do these kind of, it looks like sort of a computer readout of like topography, and then we do it with these bright colors, and that's going to be vampire vision.
And the big thing this director thinks, and it's the one thing I will give, I don't know if it's the director or the editor, but I will say there's at least some impulse here to do these cross-cutting things to build tension. And I'm going, that's some kind of creative impulse. The bar is so low, but I'm saying, like, they're doing the cutting back between and they do it later when they're doing the scenes. And once again, where I think the pacing of this works is they do cross-cutting between the different stories to build up some tension. And it's totally watchable.
Totally
I know
watchable.
It's all this low bar, but it is like...
we are damning this show with the weakest of praise.
We are, but coming out of things like the Full Moon movies and stuff, I'm going,
no,
this is, once again, this is people just punching a clock, but they're pros.
I will say, by all means, guys, compared to what we've been through,
I didn't hate this.
I'll take this any day of the week.
I watched this morning and was like, okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was pretty brisk, and I mean, like I said, it's forgettable. I think when you said that earlier, that's exactly what it is. It's totally forgettable. But it's diverting for an hour and 20 minutes. It's
very possible I watched this.
I'm almost certain I did. I had to have. Once again, I can't imagine I didn't watch this. So anyway, we see this long-haired guy getting out, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's standing on a dock, and he gets grabbed by something.
Yeah, and he does, not like it's important, and later on, plus the police work in this is shoddy.
I was gonna say it doesn't for crossing over like Universal Monsters with Law and Order. It doesn't do either one very well.
I know
it's not good police procedural either.
When I was watching this, all I could think is this is someone, when they're writing the police scenes, this is someone who's only watched police shows.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going like, I'm not an expert, but I know that you can't do that. And even if they're like going, you crossed the line, Coyle, you're not supposed to do that. And sitting there going, no, it would be more than that. The man would be fired. He'd probably be sued. I mean, there's all kinds of things. You're like, no, that's not how it works. Yeah. Plus, I love the fact that he's the only detective in Los Angeles. But anyway,
of course.
So,
I was going to say, if Pazdar doesn't catch this monster, nobody will.
We do see the long-haired, very 90s looking guy. Before
it is the
he gets
first
attacked,
of many 90s looks in this thing.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. But he goes, Klaus. That'll be quasi-important later,
I guess.
But anyway, then he's attacked by something that swoops out of the night.
And they do these quick, like, slashes, and he's like, like he's being...
I can't believe how killed I'm being.
It's a weird death for a vampire killing, though, because they talk later about... of course, the police don't believe there's a vampire. They are under the impression that there's a serial killer they've dubbed, was it the Night Raptor?
Jesus
Which
Christ.
is a horrible name, but I guess the idea is that he's being clawed. These people are being clawed to death. But I'm going, that's not really a vampire. They're being torn
apart, and actually,
that's not a vampire thing. How is that not the werewolf killings?
They do mention, well, it's both, and then later in the thing they explain to us which one's the vampire did and which one's the werewolf guy did.
Yeah.
But basically, when they started talking about the body was torn to pieces and stuff, I was like going, oh, this will tie into the Frankenstein monster thing. No.
I was
like, oh, they're trying to get body piece. No,
that's totally its own thing.
That's its own thing. And also very not organically tied in at all.
No, it really is like them going, oh, we gotta put the Frankenstein monster in
They never
somewhere.
Explain what Grimes, our vampire, wants with the Frankenstein monster. He's just looking for him.
I guess we'll have to find out in part 2. So Pazdar rolls up to the crime scene, and once again, talk about just Pazdar just drives into this crime scene, and the reporters are behind the line filming the body, like right there, and yelling stuff at Pazdar. What are you doing?
I know. Plus, I love the fact that he does. I mean, we see usually a cop shows up at the crime scene, goes under the tape.
Yeah.
Walks under the tape.
Yeah.
This is, they lift the tape so he can drive his motherfucking sweet Mustang.
Lazy
it looks
fuck.
Like he's about to drive through evidence. It's But so he gets out, and then it is I guess the hot blonde reporter woman who is she a plot point? I don't know, but she shows up a couple times.
And she's doing the thing I love in all of these, any serial killer thing, where the reporter's going, when are you gonna catch this guy, detective, huh? What's it gonna take?
They're calling him the Night Raptor. He's like, great, that's all we need. You calling him the Night Raptor, great. You're turning him into some kind of show for the... Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just
and later someone goes, Night Raptor. There's no dinosaurs killing this thing, and I'm like going, is no one going to say that raptors are birds of prey? Is no one? Okay, all right.
One also,
no, I know
like,
a raptor is only because of Jurassic Park.
Well, and it's also point, like, yes. of course not. They're just calling him that because of how the victims are shown. Like, what are you doing?
That again, there's so much stupid writing.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, it doesn't matter. The audiences
I
are.
will say,
idiots.
I was very confused early on here because we cut from this to the House of Frankenstein, our titular nightclub.
Yep.
And you only know this because we see a nightclub and there's a phone ring and we don't even see the person. We just hear off camera, House of Frankenstein, how can I help you?
Well, we first see the exterior. It's a warehouse looking thing.
That has a neon HF.
Yeah, the neon HF. I was like, oh, it'll be the House of Frankenstein.
Hello, House of Frankenstein.
And it is a theme nightclub that has a horror theme.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is where we're getting our title. And yes, we do hear someone go, House of Frankenstein. Nah, we don't open till 9. All right. And then we go into...
Well, this is where I get confused then, because I go, okay, we go to the owner's office. And immediately I see this guy and I think, okay, this is our vampire, probably.
Yep.
But then he's also talking to a guy.
Is he Lex Luthor?
Yeah. Well, because
he's talking the crazy computer setup with multiple monitors, and he's got his little ear mic phone on, and he's
talking
like going
to a guy.
Have you found him yet?
In a helicopter in the Arctic. And of course, I mean, I keep my notes going like I don't want to assume, but I'm going like probably looking for the Frankenstein monsters because they're just like, have you found him yet?
And guess what? You're totally right.
Yeah. This actor who plays Crispian Grimes.
Yep.
Crispian, great name.
Yep.
His name is Greg Wise, and I know him not for his acting, but because he's married to Emma Thompson.
Get out.
He is married to Emma Thompson. Yeah, they've been together a long time. Because they met because he's in the Sense and Sensibility movie she wrote and starred in.
And she was going through her divorce.
Yes, and she, in fact, I literally just saw an interview with her the other day because she's out doing the awards circuit and stuff like that, talking about the rough time of that divorce and how this guy really saved her, and you know,
he earned his place in heaven.
That's it exactly.
He's a treasure, and if his only purpose in life, I'm not saying he's a terrible actor, but if his only purpose in life is to make her happy, then he is
by God because
doing God's work.
Yeah, that woman is a treasure, and if all he does is realize that and act on that every day, then he's fine in my book. And if you look,
do you think that sometimes when they're getting a little frisky, she goes, "Put on the bat suit again"?
I'm so glad I kept this. From House of Frankenstein. So it is crazy. They are together at this point. I just love the idea of him going home to Emma Thompson going, well, I shot a scene today in a bat suit.
My God.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his career. He is a guy who's in a smattering of British, lots of BBC stuff. I think he's like a solid character actor, you know? He did do a Tales from the Crypt.
This material isn't going to do anybody.
That's the thing. So, I don't blame anyone here, and I think he's doing the best he can. I hate the way Grimes is written. I hate the way he's used in this. He's a bad vampire. He's just, and he's so ill-defined.
Though this is still just part 1, but we get the impression that he is an elder vampire.
They make CCH Pounder makes that clear.
Yes, she really does. But they also talk about how, you're Grimes of the Grimes family that's been here for a long time.
And that's obviously just him, right?
It's just him. So I guess he's been a Californian vampire for maybe a century plus.
Which makes sense that when he shows up, they play California.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. By the way, he can walk out in daylight, but he'll wear sunglasses
and he's got his little fedora
and an umbrella. And
he's got the big brimmed fedora, and he's like, yes. And he's playing it like arch villain, right? Like every scene with him is like, good evening, Yes, tell me more, Detective Coyle.
But attempting to be charming every now and then, like, oh, I greatly look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't think we mentioned, by the way, that this Adrian Pasdar plays Detective Vernon Coyle.
Vernon Coyle.
Yeah. Famously, so they could do more of these, a Vernon Coyle mystery.
Nah.
No, I don't think so. And of course, who could forget?
Fangs out, a Vernon Coyle mystery.
There you go, man. Once again, you see the show building here because you've got his Miguel Sandoval as his partner, Juan Cha-Cha Chacon.
Do they ever even say Cha-Cha Chacon?
Well, I don't know. Maybe in part 2, once again.
They don't seem to have, we don't get a lot of scenes with
No, because there's limited time, and we have to mainly set up the Terry Polo relationship, which is even underutilized.
Yeah.
So
in other
no
words,
time
I
for
don't
the
know
partner.
how close they are as friends. They're partners. But
They
whatever.
know each other.
They know each
They
other,
have
clearly.
They're not new partners. They have some familiarity with each other. That's as much as I got.
Yeah.
Cha-cha.
We have a lot of characters to deal with, so we can't really spend
I just want to see him where he
time.
turns and goes, "What do you think, Cha-cha?"
That would be good.
I don't know if it's supposed to be a Nash Bridges kind of thing where it's like we're partners and best buds, but no, I have no idea. I just think at the time, because he also had
he's willing to break the law with his buddy.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
When they break into that the werewolf guy's place,
but once again,
with absolutely no reason.
No, talk about having a lot of characters develop. I was writing at the beginning of this movie. I'm going, oh God, I hope this all makes sense, because then we just cut to Terry Polo, who's at a party at. Is this the Griffith Observatory?
Yep.
Yeah, an oft-used LA location, of course.
Yeah.
But she's there for, what does she do? Business.
I don't know.
She's a business lady who does business. Is what I.
She's a business lady who does business.
That's as much as I got. They have
and has,
clients and such.
She has a rep as being a real hard-nosed gal that it's impossible to get close to.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to woo her.
Yeah.
And then she really comes out of her shell once she gets clawed by a werewolf.
Yeah. Also, it's sort of a thing where it's like, wait till she comes out of her shell. It's like, also, then she meets very handsome Adrian Pasdar. The guy we see her reject here is a total skis, and then she is into charming, handsome Adrian Pasdar. So I'm not even reading that as like, man, she's really changed since that,
Okay. What was the trajectory of, why is Pasdar, what's the connection? Because I've already forgotten, and I watched this yesterday.
Yeah.
The connection between, because he's still just investigating the death of long-haired guy.
Right.
How does that tie into these rich people at Griffith?
Yeah, this makes no sense. So because we'll get to the part. So at the party here, she leaves, and this guy insists on walking her home, and even is, by the way, always a good move to go, I should walk you to your car, because the night raptor's out there, baby.
Yeah.
And then he gets...
I used to use that line a lot. It worked in LA.
You don't want the night raptor to get you. But yeah, he gets real handsy. I mean, straight up attempted assault here on his part.
Yeah.
And then she's like, wait, no, there's something in the bushes. And I do love, there's a growling and wrestling. He goes, just a squirrel. Oh, come on, man. There's active like, just a squirrel, baby.
God,
and of course,
this movie just thinks everyone watching it is really stupid.
He immediately gets mauled and ripped apart by this wolf, so it doesn't even matter who this guy is.
Yeah, it is.
And she gets attacked. Then the wolf comes after Terry Polo, scratches her, but she's able to fend it off with pepper spray.
We should state that even though we do get a man bat, in this movie, werewolves are wolves.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
I will say they didn't try to convince us this was a dog. This is a trained wolf.
Yeah.
I was at least slightly impressed.
I had the same thought, but I did think because we are still dealing with not a lot of money, obviously, but NBC. That's more money than what we're used to on a lot.
They're spending up some of what serial rapist Bill Cosby made for them. So
this is about the time. This is about the time he's investigating mysteries of his own, isn't he?
Is he?
Who could forget the Cosby mysteries?
I did, because I forgot it existed until you just said that. I was like, oh yeah, I never watched that.
America's favorite funny man gonna investigate some murders. By the way, did you see he says he's gearing up for a new stand-up tour? He's gonna get back out there now that he's been vindicated. So
I cannot. Let's put vindicated in air quotes.
Yeah, I do like some. I did see a comment that somebody goes, I'm sorry, wasn't he like so sick and blind that he was dying in prison when he was on trial? Now he's well enough to do a multi-city tour. Isn't that interesting? But I've got a
tight 5. I just worked up a new
Oh, yeah. I bet there's going to be some hilarious... You think he's going to have a lot of prison jokes in there?
People always ask me if I dropped the soap. Oh God, I don't want to.
Sorry, I even
live in a world where he's able to make money again.
Yeah, I will be very curious to see who. I mean, I'm sure somebody will, but I can't imagine major theaters are looking to book him.
Nope.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So yes, it's a wolf, and actually, compared to some of the shittier makeup, it's probably the best thing is that it just is a wolf.
Yeah, their take on werewolves here is pretty interesting in the fact that the werewolf character that we're introduced to pre-Terry Polo, the one that has just scratched her, he can just turn into a wolf, turn back into a guy, turn back into a wolf.
Now I know,
just like boop boop boop, no problem.
I recognize this guy immediately. Karsten Norgard plays our werewolf here. And once again, being the 90s kid I am, I immediately recognized him as the evil coach from Mighty Ducks 2. That's right. He's the coach of Team Iceland in that movie. And
I don't know him from anything, but when he showed up.
His character's name in that movie? Wolf.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
Literally. I just crapped my pants.
And I believe they called him the Dentist was his nickname because he knocked out so many players' teeth during his hockey years.
No more Mighty Ducks.
All right.
I've put the moratorium on that. But
it's
I will
the best one, though. 2 is the best one. That's all I'll say.
In this TV movie, the way they have dressed him and his hair, I swear to God, and just facially, for half a second, I was like, is that Leo Johnson, truck driver from Twin Peaks, Washington?
He does have that. He has a very similar
like Leo from Twin Peaks.
And I will say, this guy continues to work all the time today because he is a go-to henchman actor because he has that look.
He's got that look.
I just saw Chris Pratt kill him on the Terminal list on Amazon, and he's one of Terry Silver's baddies on Cobra Kai. Like because he's just got that. He's a broad-shouldered, kind of European looking guy with the hair adds to it. He's got sort of like greasy, stringy hair, and he's like, yeah, that's right, I'll kill you. He's that.
Yeah,
and that's what he's done here. And but the thing about it is, every time he's walking around, you're like, that is the most suspicious looking man I've ever seen.
Yeah,
there's no like, oh, this guy this werewolf could be anybody. If I took one look at this guy, I'm like, werewolf, right there. Yeah, that's him. Boom, got him.
There's a thing about confidence where you can have a swagger and just be like, yeah, man, I'm very macho. But there's also a thing where you're constantly sniffing the air and acting like an alpha predator constantly.
Yeah.
He stares at everybody. And then later we're supposed to believe...
In the parlance of Action Shelf, he's got terrible bad guy face. Real bad case of bad guy face.
Yeah, but supposedly he is a link to the rich people world because he's an interior designer who actually designed House of Frankenstein, as we find out later.
I'm so sad we don't get a scene where he comes in and goes, I'm thinking some nice wallpaper over there.
I would love it if he was coming in just like going, the flow of this room is all wrong.
Yeah. The feng shui of where this couch is located is.
But anyway, the skeezy guy gets mauled, and then he scratches Terry Polo, but she survives.
Pasdar comes into this because he gets this call. Now, what I can't figure out is, they don't initially think this is a Night Raptor murder, this guy who gets mauled, because later is when they'll say, they want us to investigate it as potentially part of it. So Pasdar just also happened to get... once again, if Pasdar's the only homicide detective there is, then I guess he gets called in on every murder? Because that's how he comes into this.
I think that even at this point, they're like, we can't rule out that it is possibly connected.
So they send him
because it's a full mauling. You know, it's not like.
But I thought this was funny too. So they're talking to absolutely shaken, traumatized Terry Polo, and Pazdar's asking her, "Oh, what did you see? Who did this?" She goes, "It was an animal of some sort." And he's going, "Now, are you sure it was an animal?" It's like
she goes,
the guy.
Yeah, and what's more, it was a dog. And he goes like, "On a dog."
But like, okay. Look at the guy. Clearly he was ripped apart by an animal. Yeah, I mean, like, but he's just like, are you sure it wasn't a man? Are you positive? And just going like, what? Okay. But then also she's super hot, so he's got to give her his number.
Yeah.
Which I always love cops and stuff who also are like, I know you witnessed a murder, but let me hit on you too. That's good work. Yeah. That's good police work.
It's always under the pose of like, if you think of anything else, doesn't even matter when, middle of the night, if anything, just give me a call.
My favorite moment in this movie is later when Pazdar is trying to get the confidence to call Terry Polo. I'm like, that's a weird scene in House of Frankenstein. It's him going, well, hi there, it's Detective. No, I can't. He's acting like fucking Favreau in Swingers, man. And he's just going like, no, that's not it.
I gotta apologize for that last message. I went on too long. Wait, hold on. Is that you on the other line?
One of the most painful scenes in film history. That scene when he leaves.
One of the most true.
That's it exactly. It's the awkwardness of how real that is. Oh, I love that scene so much, man. It's so good. So she goes. He's talking to her about that. Meanwhile. Once again, we're always just Meanwhile, let's cut to guys on a ship up in the Arctic, and this is where you've got random crew member going, "Hey, I think I figured out what we're doing up here. Pretty sure we're looking for the Frankenstein monster."
Oh God, damn it. Okay, so Grimes.
Because Grimes is sent as scientist up there. That's who's on this.
Grimes is in contact with the scientist guy who's like, I know that we're in the right area. Okay. Yeah. So, but then this is a totally sideways exposition drop scene where on the ship, the same scientist is confronted by a crew member who's figured it all out.
Yeah, put it together. It's pretty obvious if you think about it.
You're looking for the Frankenstein monster. And he goes, oh, really? He's like, I'm playing it cool. Yeah. And then the crewman goes, because up here, the locals, the natives. He says, I'm like,
by the way, the native, what, North Polars? I don't know. What natives?
They always kind of thought that book was real. Like it wasn't.
They specifically say that Mary Shelley book wasn't fiction,
And he goes, I never really read the book. I was getting around to it. I never read it. I've seen some of the movies. Whatever. So anyway,
a lot of words in there, and I just don't dance with that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's very. And the guy's like, maybe you're right then. Maybe it just could be or whatever. Yeah, they always say I'm a pretty sharp tool on this ship.
I know my way around things. This will lead to nothing. This is just for the audience to have a character to say, hey, we're looking for the Frankenstein monster.
If you haven't already figured it out from context clues, let us flatly state what's going on, is what this scene is.
I know.
And you talk about assuming the audience is stupid. This is an incredible example of that. All right. So now we're back to, we've got Melinda McGraw, who's one of the other homicide detectives. And she's on the phone with Professor CCH Pounder.
Yeah, or she's actually Doctor.
Yes. I think she describes herself as a professor later. So,
the cop is being snarky and goes, thanks a lot for calling, Professor. And then CCH Pounder goes, it's Doctor.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. And she's going, listen, I'm telling you, you're looking for a vampire.
And he has to be an elder vampire because he's leaving his bodies out in view.
And Melinda McGraw is basically doing the crazy symbol of going like, sure thing. We gotta stop giving these kooks the number to the station, It's that classic scene of, you get this once again, you're like, oh, this is the rhythms of a Law and Order scene, but you guys aren't good enough writers. But it is that sort of thing where it's like, blah, 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 bullpen talk,
Yep.
Whatever. So that sets that up. And this is where they say, all right, It's not the exact same MO as the Night Raptor, but we can't rule this out, so we're gonna, for the moment, investigate this mauling as potentially connected.
Yeah.
As I guess this is these three, Miguel Sandoval, Melinda McGraw, and Pazdar, are the task force for the Night Raptor. I don't know. We never see other cops, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
Well, we do see. Actually,
we never see like other detectives, I should say.
Their captain, who's another fine character actor. Yeah. We've seen a million things. I like the fact that their captain in this thing, he's not an angry captain. In fact, he's very understanding. He's a very nice and sweet captain. There's that scene later where he's like going, "No, you need to go home and get some rest. Hey, I'm worried about you. You need some sleep."
Yeah. Here.
I was like, I like you, police captain.
Here's some vitamins I think you're going to want to take. And the number of a good therapist. And look, this is a stressful job.
Look,
right?
I know the job is tough. And you've been working real hard.
It's the one thing the movie does that like even remotely subverts a trope.
Right. It leans into every other trope.
Oh, aggressively.
Like when the Frankenstein monster shows up and meets a blind guy. Oh, but he's only partially blind.
Oh my God! Well, hold on. That's a whole new take on this.
I know. We're not there yet.
So Grimes is talking to his scientist guy up in the Arctic, and they're looking at thermal scans of the ice. It looks like. I know that would read anything.
Plus here's the thing: the Frankenstein monster, not. As they even say, is like, well, I wouldn't say he's alive. You're like, okay,
undead.
Great, he's undead.
They make it clear he's undead. They say that like 8 times.
8 times, and it's like, and then if he's frozen in ice, is a thermal scan gonna?
Because I do like that at first the scientist misses it. It's only because Grimes is getting the live feed. He goes, "Wait, go back. I think I see the live
something." Feed. He goes, "That right there in the crevasse."
And they're like, "Oh my God, I think that's it." And then Grimes, I did write this down. He goes, "Yes. He's mine."
Yeah. Why?
To what end? I don't know. Because
it's like, finally, my bar will have its centerpiece.
Well, that is really funny when later that's what he talks about is his plan. It seems like. Because it's the scientist guy who talks him into...
we might be able to resurrect him and thaw him out. He's like,
oh, wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. I was just going to... Because he goes, I'm going to need a powerful refrigeration unit to keep this frozen. And they're like...
want people to be able to look at him and go, cool.
And the scientist guy just going like, that's it? You sent me up to the Arctic? You spent potentially millions on this trip?
We are not making this up. It seems from part 1 that the entire reason that Grimes the vampire has sought out the Frankenstein monster is just so he has like a cool prop.
Well, because you think about like the Universal Monster movies, it's like once I possess that, then I can build an army to take over the world. This sort of Universal Monsters Dracula.
Or this is my perfect assistant because he's super strong and he's not affected by daylight.
Right. And so here, though, it seems to be this is a guy who's really worried about real estate, because we also get this whole stupid subplot about he wants to build something, but environmentalists are on him about it.
This is very Chinatown. It gets very much into water tables and...
Forget it, Grimes. It's Chinatown. It's just like, I got an idea about that House of Frankenstein script. I was watching Chinatown last night.
She's my girlfriend. She's my werewolf. She's my girlfriend. She's my werewolf.
Oh my God! Not to mention, legitimately one of the best movies ever made. But
I could watch that right now
because it's a fucking masterpiece.
Yep.
But so they, so we get through that scene, and he goes, "Well, I guess if you feel you have to, Doctor, you could revive him. I suppose it's not really for me to worry about, though. So do whatever you want." Okay, when Adrian Pasdar and Miguel Sandoval are walking around House of Frankenstein with all the goth people just showing the picture of hey, y'all seen this guy?
Well, but here's the thing that really tripped me up. That's not House of Frankenstein.
Okay, is it not? That's what I thought, but I thought, no, that can't be.
A whole other goth club. And
you're right. It's okay. I thought I was mistaken, and I just go like, no, I'm sure it was House of Frankenstein. It's not. And then you get Pasdar following this goth girl into the bathroom going, I think you know something, lady.
And she does. She's like, yeah, I know that guy. And maybe she's the one that says, I know this is the victim's photo, and she goes, I know that guy. He used to hang out with this guy named Klaus Williger, who's an interior designer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they go to Klaus's house, and I love that you
Klaus's house.
And then they're knocking on this door, and out comes a crotchety old neighbor to give us exposition. He's like, "Hey, what do you got?" By the way, they're just knocking on the guy's door. They've made no noise other than knock, knock, knock on the door across the street, like right next door. And this guy goes, "Hey, some of us are trying to sleep here."
These are like Hollywood Hills homes. So Klaus is doing pretty well for a werewolf.
I guess so. Designer. Well, I mean, look, if you've got the goods as an interior designer in LA, there's a lot of work.
But his Harvey Weinstein-esque neighbor comes out in a bathrobe, is like going, "Oh, I thought it was Klaus throwing one of his big parties.
You almost woke up this girl I got drugged in here. I mean..."
And it's like, I thought that was Klaus throwing one of his parties? You mean the guys who just knocked on a door? You thought that was like one of his big parties?
And he's here to go, "Oh, he's always hanging out at that House of Frankenstein."
And they're like, "Hey,
wait a minute. That might be a clue."
Jesus, this movie.
Good Lord. Okay. So,
written by grown-ups, expecting only 11-year-olds to watch it.
But cut to the House of Frankenstein, and what's this? A fist trying to punch out of the refrigeration unit where we saw the scientist put the creature. Could it be he has been revived accidentally?
Well, the scientist did crank up the he's
but that's
doing
all
that
it
on
took.
purpose.
There's no like classic Frankenstein thing of then we ran a current through him. It's just once the ice thawed out, this Frankenstein creature is just like, "Oh, it's been a long nap. What happened?"
I gotta say, all right, I can't fault the actor. This is what he was given.
Yeah,
but I would like, for once, that they don't go with dumb child brain Frankenstein monster.
Well, because this is a dime store Tom Noonan Frankenstein performance, right?
Holy shit.
It is very much like that, but nowhere near, because Tom Noonan is fucking great in Monster Squad. And
he's absolutely great.
And he does a great job with childlike done. That's a really well. This is just, I almost feel like they were just like, just do that. And it's
when you have the screenwriter of this saying, including a scene where a guy says the book Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is real, then my brain, knowing the book, is like, oh, their take on the Frankenstein monsters, he'll wake up and be intelligent.
Oh, that would have been something.
That would have been a different take. Instead, he wakes up like,
and this is Peter Crombie, who plays the creature, and I didn't recognize, of course, on the makeup, but I looked him up, and I am a diehard Seinfeld fan.
You can't help yourself.
I fucking love Seinfeld. I know that show backwards and forwards. I almost can't watch it because I know the dialogue so well. I've gotten to that place with it. This guy played Crazy Joe Davola on Seinfeld.
He was Joe Davola?
He was Crazy Joe Davola, Elaine's stalker, nemesis of Jerry. And what's kind of great is that character's basically a monster, and he's scarier on Seinfeld than he is in this, actually.
Because this is a cuddly Frankenstein monster. He's not out to scare
as I wrote, he leaves the fridge here and proceeds to go full hobo.
He does. He
just, what does he do? The monster is awake and loose in the city. First thing he does, start begging for food. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see.
He's also out in broad daylight. Now, Grant, makeup is, it's walking a line.
It's okay. And the wake up is okay.
He could just look like a guy who'd had some terrible car accident. But yeah, so it's broad daylight, and it's Frankenstein's monster just sitting out there not speaking English, and he looks at people's shoes like, shoes good. And he goes and he breaks into a shoe store and steals
Which
shoes.
leads to the most thrilling chase scene you've ever seen of this.
My God, it's nuts the way people are after him. And then he ducks behind a dumpster, and another guy who's dumpster diving who's another great character
Oh,
actor.
hell yeah. This guy is in a million things. Let me get his name here. I just saw it. Richard Libertini, who is in a million things. Oh, my God.
The funniest thing for me...
You know what? We're going to talk about the same thing, aren't we? Because we love him in this.
Of course. And that's The In-Laws.
Oh, number one of my favorite movies. That movie is so funny.
He steals every scene he's in All of Me.
Yeah. He's in Fletch as well. I mean, just a great character actor. Once again, doing the best he can with an absolute nothing part in this.
Yeah.
Really, truly nothing to do here.
He is the nice guy who takes in the Frankenstein monster and doesn't see him as a monster. He's got one blind eye and the other one's going, and he has this weird story where he's like, he is an ex-vet who also is a teacher, but he makes so little teaching that he has to go dumpster diving, and you're like, this is kind of a fascinating character.
Yeah,
but it's all
give me a show about this guy. I'll watch a movie about
weird
him.
Comedy, and then just like the Frankenstein movies, the nice guy's like, oh, let me teach you words like this is cereal. My name is blah blah blah. What's your name? And then he goes, Frankenstein.
And then I do love that's the line where it's just like, all right, if you're not going to be serious with me, man, then
it goes, all right, so you're a crazy cuckoo nut job. That's okay. You're nice.
Well, you're
a friend.
You're a Fruit Loop, because that becomes a whole thing.
Right.
Fruit Loop.
He goes, you're kind of a fruit. He goes, Fruit Loop.
And then
you're
he's
a chatterbox. Chatterbox.
And then he's eating Fruit Loops later and going, good.
Man.
Jeez, I feel bad for Peter Crombie. By the way, Peter Crombie apparently he's retired from acting, but has done a lot in the marathon running sphere. At 70, he's in the best shape of his life, as he says here. And there's a whole article on Runner's World about him.
Wow.
So
you wouldn't be able to tell that from watching him run in this.
No, Crazy Joe Davola, he's doing all right, folks. He's really funny on Seinfeld.
That's good.
Yeah.
And again, it's not his fault. His performance is exactly what's called for.
Yep.
In this,
and I will say, if you want to see him do better makeup work, check out his Deep Space Nine episode.
Okay. I'm going to keep passing moratoriums, but then again, I think moratoriums will bite me back in the ass.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all right, Brendan, you're going to talk about Superman again?
Yeah. That's all. I just said he was on Star Trek.
No, that was good. I could tell that you actually pulled back. You dropped it.
Yeah,
like
I could have got into a whole thing about. Well, he's right in the middle of the domain.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, all right, here we go. Moving on. Here we go. So let's see. You get the Terry Polo starts to get her wolf abilities when she overhears her coworkers gossiping about her flirting with handsome police detective Adrian Pasdar.
The implication, which is so subtle, but the implication is getting scratched by that wolf is turning her into a whole new person. She's dressing up. She's looking saucy. She says to Adrian Pasdar, no, we're going out, motherfucker. And he's like, oh, okay.
Well, and we get that because he calls and she's not at her desk and Georgia Fox picks up. But from across the room, Terry Polo hears the conversation and goes, wait, I'll take that phone call. Much like this is very similar to Jack Nicholson and Wolf that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yep. She's getting animal senses.
Yeah, except that was better.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Mike Nichols.
Feel safe in saying that.
Nichols realized that better. Believe it or not, who'd have thought?
Oh my God, this thing!
And so they're gonna go out on a date. Cut back to our vampire friend, who's now talking to the environmentalist who was trying to stop the building of the project. Going, well, for a certain amount of money, I might just back off on my.
Yeah, environmentalist guy goes for a bribe, and Grimes ain't having that. I love the way they've decided to meet up at night.
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Because that's what you usually do.
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, yeah, I guess I could. He goes, but you won't be able to spend any of that bribe because you're going to be dead.
Yeah.
He's like, what? And then he attacks him. He's turned into his bat form.
Doesn't he have something about, I guess that'll, you and God will have to discuss that.
Yeah, sure. No, that's eerie. And then he hauls the guy into the sky.
Yeah. And drops his corpse to the ground, man.
This is shit. It looks so bad.
Yeah, it looks really bad. And you're just like, oh, I guess that's the end of that. Like, and this is them kind of half-heartedly doing the like classic vampire thing, or almost maybe even like a Hannibal Lecter thing of like, well, I wasn't going to kill you until you went back on your own ethics, and I can't respect that. So I kill and so you're going like, don't try to give this guy some sort of psychology. Like, just don't bother with that. Or it's like, I would have respected you more if you had just challenged me, but because you asked for the money, you deserve to die. But you're like, that doesn't fit with anything else he does in the movie.
It doesn't matter.
So, yeah, it's whatever, and it's bad.
And his ears go flippity-floppity when he attacks people.
Yeah. So he flies, and then we see Terry Polo get up in the middle of the night because she hears a wolf and looks down, and this is the first we get of this weird effect on her eyes of some kind of werewolf mental connection with the skeezy werewolf.
The skeezy werewolf who turned her, and he's stalking her. He's just out on the street looking up at her window going, yeah, I know I look like the guy from Twin Peaks. I know. I know.
That's right. They couldn't get him. He wanted too much money.
You think I was bad to why am I blanking? Shelley. You think I was bad to Shelley?
I thought you were saying Madchen Amick. Yeah.
Madchen Amick.
Yeah.
If this TV movie had her in it, along with Georgia Fox and Terry Polo, I just was like, I don't care how well this is
we're not wanting for attractive women in this. That's not.
No, we're not.
And actually, they're both good actors. They just not in this. I mean, and Georgia Fox in particular, really. I mean, like I said, we'll see. Maybe she becomes such a big character. I doubt it.
Georgia Fox gets turned. She shows up as a vamp lady at the very end.
I have a feeling she's still not going to do it. Oh yeah, spoilers. Sorry, because we know. You got to watch this, right? I will say, okay, this actually, as we mentioned that,
John, I need to say this.
Yeah.
The people who made this film in 1997 have forgotten they made this film.
Adrian Pastor's like, House of what? I don't remember doing that. The YouTube, because I think we watched this on the same YouTube video. And I will say, did you look at the other things on this YouTube channel? Hang on, sorry.
No, I didn't.
So I'll give a shout out to Vincent Dawn on YouTube, because I fell down a huge rabbit hole of his YouTube channel.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've mostly recovered. But most of what his YouTube channel is a collection of promos for stuff from TV in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, wow.
And I will get sucked into that. And it's so weird, but it is just like network promos for movies they're going to show. Or I watched the promo for the pilot of Next Generation. Sorry to bring up Star Trek again. But it is like, it's fascinating to see like a new adventure begins, a new crew for the Enterprise, and you're like, oh, I love it, man. I do. And so I watched a bunch of that stuff. And he's got promos for like local affiliates doing Twilight Zone marathons and stuff from the 80s, and there is
that's cool.
It's a warm blanket of nostalgia. And he says on there, it is just like, I am just collecting oddities and videos of pop culture, almost preserving them for posterity's sake. Like, well, here's just things that aired on television, and he put this movie up in its entirety, which I appreciate. And
we owe him a great thanks.
Yeah, because
I
don't know that we would have been
horrible.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and we wouldn't have been able to find this without him. So Vincent Dawn, you can go over there. He has a Patreon too, so to help him fund his quest to archive all this stuff.
Yes,
which I love people who are dedicated to highly specific things like this.
Yeah, me too.
But like, I mean, he's got a commercial. He's got all of Vincent Price's commercial appearances.
Oh, that's
Vincent Price advertising sour cream. Vincent Price's Enchanted World Time Life books,
Perfect.
Oh, I love it so much. Like, it's just, I mean, I don't know. I will lose hours to that shit on YouTube, though.
I am glad I did not fall down the same wormhole.
I mean, I'm the guy who will watch 4-hour compilation of 80s TV commercials.
I've done that, and I've done that for the 70s because I'm old.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this, blah, 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 blah.
If I don't see James Garner advertising Kodak, was it Kodak that he did, or was it Polaroid? Maybe it was Polaroid.
It was Polaroid.
Yeah.
And it was him. It was the one step or one touch or whatever, and it was him and Marriott Hartley.
Yeah.
America's favorite not really married couple.
I always thought that was so interesting. It's just like, and anyway. Sorry, back to this, which no one wants to talk about. So Pazdar shows up because they find the environmentalist guy dead.
Yeah.
Now. And this is where he just hauls off and loses it on the press.
Yeah.
I'm out here busting my butt trying to, because once again, I've never seen this. Now, to be fair, we don't have a lot of high-profile madmen slaughtering people, and certainly not at this point in reality. Like big high-profile. I mean, there are serial killers, of course, but like big high-profile L.A. In the grips of terror because a madman is doing elaborate murders. So, but just this idea of the press going, "Hey, cop! Do your job better. Why can't you catch this guy?"
Yeah. Is this guy connected? Was this another raptor murder? Why haven't you found the raptor yet? Why can't you do this? He's like, listen, people.
The press is always berating these detectives and stuff I watch. It's always just like, I mean, it's a very Dirty Harry thing. Hey, Callahan, when you gonna stop this madness, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I've never seen. If anything, I often get mad at reporters for not being aggressive enough in their questioning.
And then you end up with a scene, which is very famous, of Callahan just opening up and shooting all those reporters.
That's what you get, you dirty press monsters. Print that, you bastards.
There's your headline. No, sorry. There's your head.
Seems your pencils out of lead. Yeah, there you go. Clint's like, that's when I knew we'd gone too far in the Dirty Harry movies. The second I just started gunning down unarmed members of the press. That's conservative even for me. So yeah. So anyway, though, he storms off, but then CCH Pounder's like, hey, blonde reporter lady, I know who's been doing this. And they're like, oh, really? Tell us. Like, it's an elder vampire. And now the reporter lady's like, okay, crazy lady. Jesus.
Yeah, it's the same reporter lady, and for half a second she's pretending like, oh, really? Yeah, tell me about it.
Poor CCH Pounder in this movie. Every scene with her is like, why won't anyone listen to me?
What I don't understand.
Yeah.
Even if you are, let's say, an occultist who has a professor who
knows
all this stuff.
She's meant to be our Van Helsing character, right?
I know.
Yeah.
But you would know in the modern world, even if that is your belief,
right,
you would know how it's going to sound to other people. You have to develop some tactic of how to bring this into the conversation.
Cushing Van Helsing slow rolled it more than this lady.
Yeah, she is literally just going, it's an elder vampire. Why is everyone having such a hard time with this?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Come on. Because I just love they do it. Yes, it's a vampire, but specifically it's an elder vampire. And let me tell you, and that it's just like, oh God, lady, boy, seek help. Poor CCH Pounder. She's a few years away from The Shield at this point, though, which is one of my favorite shows.
Of course, she's amazing in it. But I just think that she's the only one I felt embarrassed for.
Yes, it is sort of because Pazdar is stock, but I'm not sure he's asked to do anything too embarrassing in this.
I'm just used to her.
Yeah.
Specifically, always being such a smarter, stronger character.
Yes.
That seeing her being like a Looney Tunes doctor trying to convince people of vampires, I'm like,
well, the same year she's in Face Off, and she's playing more of a CCH Pounder part in that, where she's like, even as crazy as that movie, she's the one going like, I'm telling you, John Travolta, this is the only way to catch Nicolas Cage. You must become him. And that's a case where they use her and Colm Fiore as the scientist to go like, this is a ludicrous premise, but look at these strong actors making you go, oh, maybe this is the only way to do it.
Sometimes a strong actor
that is something where genre stuff can actually be helped by. It's the right use of her going like, you know what? I'm starting to believe. I guess he's got to put Nicolas Cage's face on. What are you gonna do? No other way. Sometimes you got no choice but to wear another man's face.
That's the T-shirt. Okay.
I do love that movie. But okay, so so now this is where we find out that because is this where they catch the werewolf? At some point, they catch the werewolf. And they bring him in for questioning, which the thing I do love in Universal Monsters Law and Order is the amount of times we see monsters in interrogation rooms. The Frankenstein monster is pretty fucking funny when they got him cuffed to the table and they're going like, all right, pal, spill it. What's your deal?
What I don't understand is the Frankenstein monster could easily snap those chains. And in fact, he's shown kind of almost playing with them. And you're like,
yeah.
Well, then why doesn't he just free himself?
And of course, immediately, because this guy's going, people are going like, clearly he's not mentally capable to understand what you're asking him.
We're not there
yet. No, we're talking a werewolf guy. We're talking a werewolf guy because we got to meet Grimes' attorney who goes, do you actually have any evidence on my client?
So I think post the first date of Coyle and Terry Polo's
at the amusement park? Oh, so cute.
Yeah, it's adorable. Yeah. And he drives, Coyle drives away from her place. Yeah. And as he goes, he sees the reported car of the reported stalker.
Hey, wait a minute.
So he turns back around, and it's a good thing he did because the werewolf has stalked Terry Polo into her own apartment building, and she knows it's him, and he knows that she knows it's him. But
no, that's the second time they bring him in. They bring him in for questioning the. No, it's crazy. They bring him in twice. This time he gets out.
This isn't the lineup yet.
No, that's after they bring him in because that's where they break into his house and arrest him. Remember?
Oh yeah.
They arrest him, and then it's because they don't have any evidence that they get him out, and this is where we find out.
I don't remember.
This is where we find out the werewolf is working for Grimes because he gets into the limo with him, and he's just and because this is where he goes, what happened? The Grimes does, and the werewolf goes, it's possible. The other night I scratched a woman, and because it's Grimes goes, who gave you permission to make monsters?
Yeah,
ugh, hate that line.
Me too.
When monsters refer to themselves as monsters, I get a little like, oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, really hate.
You said anything there. You don't have permission to make your own kind.
Something like that. Yeah, that's what I mean. It feels lazy. Like I can't imagine.
Add to your pack.
I don't want Dracula to be being a monster myself. Unless he's doing it.
This is Grimes.
Well, yes, but I'm just talking about in general. Unless they're doing it sort of archly or referring to you call me a monster.
Sure,
the idea that it's just like monsters like us need to stick together. Even still, that could work if it's done in this like monster in quotes. But here he's just going, why are you out here making more monsters? Aren't there enough of us?
Yep. And I think Coyle somehow.
Well, he sees him get into the limo, right?
And is that when he goes to talk to Grimes at the House of Frankenstein? And
yes.
He goes, do you know Klaus Willigan? He goes, in fact, I do.
Yeah.
What does he do for you? Oh, he did this. And he points to the place. He designed all of this.
How do you not recognize? This is classic Klaus.
You see how they put a coffin over there in the corner?
Yeah.
Who else would do that but a Klaus?
That's a move only Klaus would make.
You see how
this Detective Coyle
showing an old Universal movie on the wall?
You're so
total Klaus.
You're so unsophisticated, Detective Coyle. This poor guy. I do
Coyle.
kind of actually feel embarrassed for Greg Wise here too. Like the vampire thing. He's just oh God. Yeah. So it's Then he takes Terry Polo on a date, drops her off at home, and she is seized upon by Klaus, who is turning back and forth depending on the needs of the scene. Because I do like her big move when this wolf is chasing her is just to go into the stairwell and hold the door closed. And the wolf just is like, damn, vexed.
Vexed. But luckily, and I will say this, the movie does address, and it always drives me crazy, werewolf movies, like what's happening to the clothes. This movie, at least, he's totally naked under a trench coat. and he's got boots. But as he's following her, he kicks the boots off. And then
he does. I actually thought that was a halfway decently constructed scene where they're in the elevator and there's this kind of like tension building thing.
Yeah,
and you see him slip the boots off. I thought, oh, that's kind of good.
Yeah, kind of good. Yeah. And then
in a better movie, I would give that a thumbs up.
He turns into a wolf and
chases her down
is
the hall.
vexed by the stairway door until he immediately switches back to a naked man.
This is interesting that this is a werewolf who can go back and forth by his
That's
own.
what I'm saying. Very quick.
Yeah. But his own thing. It's not a curse. It's just like, now I'm a wolf. Now I'm a man. Now I'm a wolf. Yeah. Now I'm a man. Interesting.
He turns back into a naked man to open the door. Then
now I'm a naked man.
A wolf to chase her.
That's right. I'm out here and I'm loving every minute of it.
I don't even care that you saw my dangly bits.
Yeah. In fact,
I'm a werewolf.
In fact, I like that you saw my dangly bits. That's my thing.
This is that where. Coyle saw the car, spins back.
Because she runs downstairs into the lobby where Pazdar has come back in.
And then Pazdar sees a wolf. This is the hotel lobby. I thought it was hilarious that he is popping off shots in a hotel lobby.
I know, right?
There's no one else in this building, by the way.
Well, no, so I guess that's why he's not worried about where those bullets are going.
She drops to the floor. The wolf leaps sort of over her at Pazdar.
We get slow motion
a bullet in it.
Yeah, we get slow motion wolf leaping and him shooting the wolf. Because later, now when after this, he goes to arrest wolf guy now the second time, and he goes like, something happened to your shoulder? Because he's got the wound from the werewolf.
Pazdar is full on, like, at this point, he's like, yeah, that's a werewolf. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. Well, because pretty quickly he's going to bring CCH Powder into the office and go, tell me more about these vampires, lady.
Yeah, while pretending with the rest of the cops that it's ludicrous, but he's believing it because he's seen some stuff.
Well, because they're questioning the werewolf guy, and one of the CSI guys comes from upstairs and goes, hey, we did find animal hair in this guy's bathroom or whatever. And it's just like, oh, you're cooked now, Klaus. It's over, baby. If that matches what we found at the scene, you're going down.
And they also do a lineup.
Yeah, this is the thing where it's like, this is what's going to finish this guy.
They're like, yeah, all we need is for Terry Polo to come in and go, that's him. But what's weird is it's like, I guess we are part of the same pack, because she knows it's him, but he's looking at her like, we're werewolves. And she goes, I don't see him up there. I'm sorry. What? And Pazdar's like, but are you sure? And she's like, yeah, he's not up there.
Well, we see, I mean, it's a long scene of his weird eyes, her weird eyes, and back and forth. And then it's like, but yeah, it had to be. And it's like, I don't know why they can't hold him on the animal hair potentially matching, but apparently without the ID, then no.
Yeah,
that's
over.
It. By the way, the police captain in this, I was trying to figure out where I recognized him from. He's the judge in A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
And another favorite of ours, he's in he's the consulting psychiatrist in Albert Brooks's Real Life.
Yes.
The guy who keeps going, this is a terrible idea, you know.
It actually is as funny as any other performance in that movie. He's so subtle with it. It is so great.
Because he's the guy who just keeps, and Albert Brooks is going, well, I don't know about that, you know.
And he goes, what if it had a hook?
Yeah.
What if the house catches on fire? He goes, I don't see that happening. It's very unlikely.
I love that movie. And the end of that movie is so dark, and I love Albert Brooks just sitting there watching the house burn.
He's like, it's beautiful. That's my Gone with the Wind ending. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, watch once again.
And he's carrying Harry Shearer's cameraman out.
Don't watch this. Watch The In-Laws. Watch Real Life. Go watch things. That's such a great movie.
Treat yourself.
Yeah.
Treat yourself.
Those are just both of those movies are pure joys.
Yep.
I love both of those so much. Okay, so they got him in, but now Grimes is like, well, the police have brought this guy in twice. Maybe it's time we get rid of this werewolf problem.
And
gives
Grimes
his lawyer
this to his lawyer guy, and
gives
I
him
like
a silver
the fact
bullet.
That the lawyer's like, yeah, he goes, here you go. I can't do it myself. That's a bad look. But you take care of it, okay? Here's a silver bullet. prove your loyalty to me. And he's like, all right. And he does. The lawyer guy goes to meet with the werewolf guy, and the werewolf guy's being all cocky, like, because he pulls a gun on him, like, yep, Grimes isn't happy with you. He's like, oh, yeah. Oh, here comes a gun.
Shoots him,
watch out.
Shoots him point blank in the heart here, man. Damn.
Yeah, with the silver bullet. And then he's like, oh, shit. So that's where Leo, the truck driver,
by the way,
dies.
William Converse Roberts is the guy who plays the lawyer guy, who you've seen in a lot of stuff. But I know from Firefly. He plays Simon and River's father on Firefly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There you go.
So, Mr. Tam.
Yeah, Gabriel Tam. I did not remember that until I saw that on the IMDb. And if anyone remembers, bonus piece of trivia, young Simon, played by Zac Efron, in a flashback scene. One of his first gigs. All right. So, let's see. Where are they? They killed the guy. Oh, we got to have the creature on a bus interacting with a little girl.
Yep.
Oh, she's like me.
Yep, here's your toy that you dropped.
I understand children. Once again, feel so bad for this guy. He has nothing to play.
We should say this a little running thread, which is it's basically Grimes confronted the scientist like, so you thought him out? And yeah, he came to life, but I don't know where he is now. And he goes, you know what? I'm not even mad at you. He kind of goes, yeah, you were right. It's pretty cool, but you do need to find him. He's like, all right. So the running thread that connects it is the scientist we keep bumping into, the scientist tracking through the cities, trying to find the Frankenstein monster that's been living with the nice a teacher, dumpster diver. And that's just been going on in the background. These two storylines are about to collide.
Well, they are. Well, first we got to get the Terry Polo is staying with Adrian Pazdar because obviously the bad guys know where she lives. So that means they have to bang, and we get a very attempting to ape Tony Scott sex scene.
Oh, it's very blue light.
Yeah, it's very much. That's what that's sort of what I think of as the Tony Scott, like Top Gun, True Romance. That's what his sex scenes always look like.
It's silhouette-y, and they're trying to make it as hot as they can
for NBC. TV. And they're two very hot people, but but it's also anyway. While that is happening, Grimes has gone to Terry Polo's apartment, which is where he turns Georgia Fox.
Right, he's looking for her, and because he knows that she's werewolf lady now, but he doesn't find her. He finds her good friend, who's had 3 lines, Georgia Fox, and he turns her. Making sure, by the way, that he's in man-bat form, because it's been a few minutes since we've seen those little ears going.
That horrible. You know what? That makeup almost reminds me of Gargoyles, the TV movie.
Oh, you mean the one from the 70s?
Yeah, it has the gargoyles in that.
I'd rather look at that because they're at least varied and kind of interesting.
Yeah, but at least the main guy in that has makeup similar to this in my memory. It's a long time since I've seen that, but so that's all happening, and this is where the creature is looking at a map, going, "Here, I must return to ice."
Right.
This is a weird beat.
Friend, he's like, I need to go back home. He goes, where's home? And he goes, here. And he's pointing at the North Pole. He's like, well, that's a long way away.
Yeah. So he, and meanwhile, now the vampire bursts in here because he's going to kill the old blind guy.
The scientist has told Grimes where he found the Frankenstein monster. So basically, this doesn't make any sense, by the way.
Of course not.
Again, the stupidity of it. It's like, he's like, do you want me to confront him? Or he goes, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, the way you decide, you, elder vampire, smart guy, the way you're going to take care of it is to cause a very public scene where you smash as a man-bat into a window, and it's even the wrong window, and then there's a whole big thing. Then you end up in the right apartment, and you end up killing the Frankenstein monster's only friend by punching a hole through his chest.
Yeah, very Terminator, right?
Yeah, and then he goes, you belong with me. And the Frankenstein monster is like, oh.
Well, then he does my favorite thing an elder vampire can do.
Yeah.
Cheese it! It's the fuzz!
I know.
Because the cops show up, and the vampire's like, "Oh shit, I can't go back to jail."
I know. I know. He basically flies up on the roof and is like, "Well, I could have thought this up better." It's almost, that's not what he says, but it's almost like the movie's giving you that option to that's his inner thought.
Yeah.
I kind of blew it with the Frankenstein monster thing. Shit. So he flies off, and that's where Frankenstein's monster gets taken into custody because they believe this guy killed his friend, and he didn't.
And I love the thing about like this is classic cop movie thing where it's like he says he needs to get home. Well, where's he from? The North Pole. Oh, great! We just arrested Santa Claus.
Yeah, I felt bad. That was the guy who's the police captain, and I'm like, that's not a good line.
No. But once again, it's like ba 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 ba, Law and Order kind of patter. It's just bad. It's just bad police procedural. Like, oh great, now we've got. You could imagine Ice-T saying something like that on Law and Order SVU. Great, we just arrested Santa Claus.
We just arrested Santa Claus, and this is dumb.
Yeah.
And it leads to the dumb interrogation scene where it's like a police counselor or I guess public defender or whatever.
That's my impression of the monster in this movie.
Yeah, that's it. And she's like, okay. She comes out of the interrogation room and goes, he understands very little English. He says he's from the North Pole. He didn't kill his friend.
Yeah.
And he says he's the Frankenstein's monster. So good luck.
Now, Pazdar at this point has decided the safer move is to move Terry Polo to his sister's house.
Yeah, it's like there's also a running thread where we get the impression that Pazdar's coil comes from money.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing, when she goes to his apartment, she goes, "Wow, this is much nicer than I expected for a cop." And he goes, yeah, this was kind of inherited. And
yeah, I'm embezzling and totally stealing from the department.
It's like, I'm gonna take you to my sister's cabin, and when you go there, of course, it's like this very nice, very big, and it's just his older sister and her kid, who's an adorable.
Oh, because we got to get Pazdar reading to him in bed, and it's like, oh, he's a. And I do love this scene though, where he goes like, they're like, yeah, you can go into that room or whatever, and the sister's like, she's nice. Is she the one? And I just thought, he's like, well, I've known her 3 days, so.
And we've boned, and she seems to be able to smell things from a great distance.
Yeah.
But yes, she could be the one.
But this plan is ruined by the fact that Georgia Fox is in with the vampire, so she's like, I know where she is. Cut to our crazy colored video effect. Womp, 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 vampire vision. Womp, 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 womp. As, oh no, there are so many times too, they love to show Adrian Pazdar drawing his gun in this movie. There's so many times where he's like, uh-oh, trouble.
I know. It's very funny.
It is every time here. And so, yeah, he goes, oh no, take the kid because Terry Polo's gone.
This is what I love is, it's like he goes, quick, follow me. They go into like another bedroom and he goes, double lock these doors. And he gives her his own weapon. Like, you know how to use this?
Yeah.
To his sister.
And she goes, of course.
Yeah, she goes, yeah. And I love the way it's a very nice cabin. The room that he's locking them in is very nice.
Yeah.
It has windows all the way around it. I'm just sitting there going, great choice there, cop.
But it doesn't matter because the vampire's already got what he wanted. He's got Terry Polo now and is on his way back to his lair. And to be continued, folks.
Could this be the end of part 1?
To be continued. Boy. Yeah. By the way, the sister is played by Elaine Kagan.
Sure.
Who played Henry Hill's mother in Goodfellas. So everybody here has done other good to great things.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Also, I can't hear without thinking of the Daily Show during the when they were confirming Justice Kagan, that they did the bit where it was the Liam Neeson clip with "Release the Kagan," just Jon Stewart going Kagan, and so when I hear that's why that's burned into my memory.
I don't know either, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
You know, if
House of Frankenstein Part 1. Well, let's reserve judgment till we see the whole thing, Brendan. Maybe this epic conclusion. Yeah.
If this were not our job in quotes.
Yeah.
And you had just stumbled across this.
Yeah.
On your own.
Yeah.
You watched part 1. Would you watch part 2?
Brendan, I don't know that I would have finished part 1. Honestly. So no, I don't think so. I in 1997 though, yeah, because what else was on? Like
compared to everything on this is comparative. Compared to a Full Moon Charles Band thing, yeah, this is better. This is better than Frankenstein Island. This is better than Howling 7.
This is probably like lower middle in terms of quality of our show. Like it's and once again in 1997, I think it's about on par with most of the paranormal stuff that's on TV.
Yeah.
You know, you have your outliers like Buffy, which is really good. Although production value wise is only slightly better than this. Because they didn't have a lot of money, but the thing was the writing and acting. It's sort of that I'm bringing up Star Trek again, but it's similar to that where I go like, okay, you can see the seams in a lot of this stuff, but if the writing and acting are working, I'm really overlooking that. I would say
alien. That about Babylon 5, which is even worse than any of the Star Trek.
Oh, they didn't have the money.
They did not have the money.
Because I mean, here's the thing that's interesting about the 80s.
The writing and acting, great.
The 80s and 90s Star Trek were like the most expensive shows on television. It's just that was asking so much of TV, even with the top special effects and makeup people. What they were asking was so big for a TV show of that era. So you go like, man, that is literally as good as it could get on TV, and it's still a little wonky.
Yep. So I agree, but again,
so it's not terrible, but yeah, no, I would not say go out of your way to see this. But this is not some hidden gem.
Let's hold off again. Yeah. Final judgments next week. We got an hour and a half more to go.
Yeah. And we'll see what happens. What will happen in the thrilling conclusion of House of Frankenstein?
Will Frankenstein's monster actually have something to do?
Yeah, is he still in police custody as of the end of this?
I think so.
I just hope it means Pazdar is going to have to bust him out.
Pazdar and his partner with Frankenstein monster in the back of the car. Come on!
Oh, that's what we want to see. But like I said, it's going to be something where he's going to have to bust him out to save Terry Polo.
Exactly.
But Terry Polo won't need saving as much as we think because she's really a werewolf now.
Damn.
These are my predictions for next week. But find out when you join us next week. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
But where was the Gill Man?